Okay, I want you to imagine something. Picture yourself stepping out your front door in a big city, but it's, say, 1870.
Right.
The air is just thick, with smoke from factories. There's noise. It's crowded. All you see is brick and stone.
And if you wanted to see a tree or just some grass.
Forget it. Unless you were, like, super wealthy with a private estate somewhere.
And that exact pressure, that intensity, that's what created the public park.
So it wasn't just about making cities look nicer?
No, not at all. It was a crisis response.
Yeah.
City governments suddenly realized they had a massive public health problem. I
Mhm.
mean, diseases spread so easily.
And the lack of clean air was a big part of
A
that.
huge part. Before this, all those beautiful gardens you might see, they were private. They belonged to the rich.
Fenced off.
Exactly. So the idea of a public park was pretty revolutionary. It was this huge move to democratize nature.
So a factory worker could, for the first time, walk on the same kind of manicured lawn as a nobleman.
Precisely. And those early parks were designed to feel like an escape. Winding paths, quiet flower beds, like a little piece of the countryside right in the city.
Okay, so that's the starting point. Peace and quiet. But the story takes a really sharp turn because parks went from these quiet places
Yeah,
to centers for organized sport.
a big turn.
What was the trigger? What flipped that switch?
It was one simple but profound thing. Time.
Time.
Yeah. During the Victorian era, new laws started to reduce the length of the work week. All of a sudden, working class people had this huge new block of free time,
Especially on weekends?
especially on Saturdays. And when you have free time, you need something to do with it.
Right, and that created this explosion in demand for physical activities.
Across all social classes, people were already playing folk games, but they were chaotic. The rules changed from village to village.
How did they get organized?
Well, you needed clear written rules.
Yeah.
To have leagues and proper matches, everyone needs to be on the same page.
And sports like football and cricket were perfect for that.
They were perfect. The rules were simple enough to travel, and parks had the open space. Schools and local clubs just jumped on it, promoting them to all the young people.
And this is where we see something new start to emerge, right? It's not just about playing anymore.
No, this is the birth of the spectator.
The crowds.
Huge crowds. Thousands of people gathering on a weekend to watch a match. It became a social event, a source of local pride. It really cemented sports as a central part of the national culture.
So if you have this huge demand for sports, the parks themselves had to completely change. They couldn't just be walking gardens.
No, they had to become functional. It was a design revolution. You moved from just aesthetics to pure utility.
So what did that look like?
You start seeing massive, wide-open fields.
Yeah.
Big enough for a couple of games at once. You see paths designed specifically for jogging.
And infrastructure.
Yeah, real infrastructure. Most parks built a central pavilion or a clubhouse.
A place to change clothes, store gear.
Exactly. And, crucially, fences and hedges.
Wait, fences to keep people out.
No, to keep activities in.
Hmm.
You needed to separate the loud, fast football pitch from the quiet area where people are having picnics. It was about creating zones, controlled leisure.
Let's get into the less glamorous details, though. Because keeping a field playable for hundreds of people, that's a technical challenge.
It's a huge challenge, and it really came down to two things. First, irrigation. You needed modern systems to keep the grass alive in the summer.
And the second thing is probably even more important, drainage.
Drainage was everything. It was the absolute foundation of weekend sports culture.
Because one big rainstorm.
And your pitch is a mud pit. It's unusable. That cancels dozens of matches. It ruins the only day off for thousands of workers. So getting that drainage right was priority number one.
Okay, so we have the time, we have the engineered space. Let's talk about the big three sports that took over these parks, starting with the most accessible one, football.
Football just dominated because the barrier to entry was basically zero.
All you need is a ball.
A ball and a couple of jackets for goalposts. That's it. So it was the perfect game for kids and adults who didn't have a lot of money.
And the parks provided that one essential thing, a big, flat piece of grass.
And that's where community really starts to build.
Yeah.
You get these neighborhood leagues. Your street versus the next street over. Your factory against a rival factory.
So it taught teamwork, social skills.
Absolutely. The demand got so high that cities started installing permanent goalposts in the parks. It was a sign that this space was officially for the people's game.
Now let's contrast that with the next one, which had a very different feel, tennis.
Totally different. Tennis was all about formality, social structure. It started as an upper-class game.
And it needed special courts, right? Which costs money.
A lot of money to build and maintain. You needed perfect grass or new hard courts. But what's really fascinating about tennis is its social role.
How so?
It was one of the only sports where men and women could actually play together in public.
Ah, so the tennis court became a social hub.
A massive social hub. It was a place to meet people. Very respectable, very public, and the fashion, the tennis whites.
Yeah.
It all added to this formal, high-status feel.
And because of the costs, sometimes you had to pay to play.
Yes, some parks charged a small fee to use the courts. But even with that, they were always busy.
Okay, so our third big activity points to another trend, which was this growing obsession with public health. And that's swimming.
Right. This health craze in the late 19th and early 20th centuries was huge. Cities realized they needed safe, clean places for people to swim.
They started with natural ponds sometimes, right?
They tried, but soon they moved to building dedicated outdoor pools.
Which were called lidos. And they were often beautiful architecturally.
Oh yeah, especially the ones built in the 1930s. They often had this amazing Art Deco style. They weren't just pools, they were civic monuments. A statement that public recreation was important.
And it was promoted as being great for your health.
Definitely. It was all about strengthening the body, improving lung capacity. And on a hot day, they were just packed with families. Many parks even started offering swimming lessons.
Now, if we zoom out a bit, none of this mass sport would have grown beyond the local neighborhood without one other major change.
Transportation.
Exactly.
It's the key. Without better ways to get around, spectator sports could never have become a national thing. The railways were huge for that.
Letting people travel to see big matches in other cities?
Right. And then, within the city, the electric tram was the real game changer.
Made it cheap and easy to get to those bigger parks on the edge of town.
And then you get the bicycle, which gave people individual freedom. And later, of course, the car.
Which forced parks to change again, to build parking lots.
They had to. The big picture is that better transport let teams travel for tournaments, which spread the rules and the popularity of the games across the entire country. It turned local hobbies into national obsessions.
Let's circle back to that idea of health. Beyond just fitness, parks were seen as medicinal almost. They were called the lungs of the city.
That phrase was everywhere. Doctors genuinely believed that fresh air and exercise could prevent diseases, that the trees were literally filtering the pollution.
And it wasn't just physical health, was it?
No, there was a huge focus on mental health, the idea that physical activity could reduce stress, but also moral development.
Character building.
Exactly. Joining a team was supposed to teach discipline, perseverance, teamwork. Competition was seen as healthy training for adult life.
Which is why you see outdoor gyms with bars and rings appearing in parks.
Right. But they also had to create spaces for the youngest kids, so they built dedicated fenced-off playgrounds.
With all the classic stuff, swings, slides, sand pits.
All of it. Because there was this new understanding that play wasn't just fun. It was essential for a child's development.
And these play areas were supervised.
Often, yes, by park rangers. It was about safety, but also about teaching kids how to play fair and get along.
So as we get more modern, that organized competition is still a huge part of the park's identity. It's what draws the crowds.
Absolutely. And you see things like trophies and medals being introduced to encourage people to get better, to strive for excellence.
And those annual sports days must have created this incredible neighborhood pride.
A huge amount. And local businesses would get involved, sponsoring events. But for any of that to happen, you need that constant unseen work.
The maintenance?
The groundskeepers.
Yeah.
The real heroes. They're constantly mowing, marking the lines on the pitches.
And letting the fields rest, right?
Yes. Resting the turf is critical, especially in winter. And then there's just the basics, like collecting trash every day.
And eventually adding lights.
Which was a big deal. Adding lights meant people could play and exercise after work, after the sun went down. It basically doubled the usable hours of the park.
It's just amazing how this space evolved, from a quiet escape from the city to this complex, vital center for the city.
And it's still evolving. Now we see skate parks and climbing walls being added. People are using fitness tracking apps on the running paths.
And the focus is shifting environmentally, too, back towards nature.
Yeah, there's a growing trend to leave some areas a bit wilder, to encourage bees and birds. It adds another layer to the park's purpose.
It just shows that the best public spaces are the ones that adapt to what people need. So next time you're in a park, look around. That running path, that old pavilion, it's all a piece of living history designed so you could play.
And despite all the changes in technology and society, that basic human need for green space, for fresh air, and for activity,
Mm.
it's exactly the same as it was 150 years ago.
So here's a final thought. If transportation was the technology that supercharged parks in the 19th century, what technology is changing how we use them today? And what will your neighborhood park look like in 20 years because of it? See you next time.